Hello everyone, my name's Kaimedar, and welcome to my redstone testing world. So recently, on Arcadia SMP, I made a stat poker gambling lounge. And one of the Arcadians asked me to do something interesting. And well, it's a fun challenge, so I'm up for it. So they recently asked me, hey, we want to play stat poker non-biased. So can we have some kind of like randomizer for our stats? And I said, sure, can't be that hard, right? I was wrong. I figured it out though. But I think in order to get this message across correctly, we need to actually look at the stats and figure out what we actually have to do. So this is a standard stat page. This is the vanilla version. So on this page, there are 75 general stats. These are just general things like damage dealt, distance by strider, plants potted, just the general things we do in Minecraft. So up here on the right, we're going to put 75. Now, we go to the mobs. I don't have many. This is a testing world. But there are 75 mobs plus the player. So technically there's 76, and we can get 2 stats for each one. So that's 152. So right now we're at 227. Not that bad. Not too bad so far. But then we get to this page. This is the item page. And while I don't have all of them because this is just, redstone testing world, there are, to my count, to the best of my abilities, because there are a lot of conflicting numbers out there, 1,438 obtainable items in survival Minecraft. Which, isn't bad. That's what, 1,665 items? Not too bad. But there's a catch. See all these up here? These are all the additions. So every one of these can either have like times mined, times broken, times crafted, times used, picked up, and dropped. While some of them don't, like I don't even know if it's possible to mine charcoal. Let's just say they all have the ability to get all 6 of these. So then we have to take 1,438 and times it by 6. That's 8,628. With a grand total of 8,855 stats you can get in vanilla Minecraft. That's a lot. But I think for our purposes, we're going to stick to a much more manageable number. So we have the 1,665, and if we add 6 to that, which is the amount of variations we can get for the blocks, it's actually 1,671. That's doable. So then I had to come up with another thing. I need some kind of randomizer for this many items, and I made this far more complicated than it needed to be in the beginning. Over here were some of the early prototypes of droppers going into dispensers, going into chests, going into dispensers, going back to droppers. And I was going to pull an item out of here. And I made a different variation of it with stuff at the bottom, with the redstone repeating clock, trying to get this thing to work. It was a mess. It was a mess, and it wasn't really working. Then I came up with this thing. This thing was pretty interesting. So this is what I'm basically just calling an Ouroboros dropper chain. If you don't know what an Ouroboros is, it's the snake that eats itself. And that's basically what this is. This is just droppers going into one another in a chain. And I have over here just a standard observer repeating clock. So the way this works is this redstone line will power these 5 droppers down here. And then up here, we have another one powering these 3 up here. This basically just chucks all the items through randomly, and it goes through every single one. It worked great. And you notice there are some gaps. I've been doing a lot of science on this. So this can hold 72 items. I recommend only 63 for the fastest rate. So if I actually fill every single slot of every one of these, well, it's not going to work. There's nowhere for anything to move. But leaving one entire dropper completely empty in here actually makes all the items move as fast as this tick does. So with this concept, I created this monstrosity. This is version 1. This was the first test of everything. So I have all of these droppers going into one another in a circle. They're feeding into the same loop. So like this is a different loop. This is a different loop here. This is a different one here, and so on. And I put 4 of them in these little sections. Underneath, I had a bunch of item hoppers grabbing items out of there and going into a chain. This chain led to the center droppers, which would kick items up to here. And I'll just turn this on so you can see how it actually works. It was fairly simple. It would kick items up, the water stream would tick on and off, and it would randomly push an item into a random hopper, which would go back into a random dropper, and it would go through the whole system. And then I had a minecart here to pick up items. But there's a problem with this, and I learned very quickly. If we just observe one item hopper, you can already tell. It's only grabbing the first item. All these items have still been in here. I left this running for an hour, and none of these items actually moved at all, because there's too many items in the system. So this system was flawed at the beginning. I needed to fix this. But while we're here, we can at least talk about this. This was the item pickup system that I made, because I needed a way to pick up one item for one stat. So all I did was I filled this barrel with a bunch of light stained glass called Do Not Remove. Did the same thing with this. Left one slot open. Minecart will go. It will grab an item. It will deposit in here. Iron chest plate. Great. We take this. We do our stat thing with it. We put it back in the dropper and we send it back on its way. So this entire system was flawed and I had to fix it. So I did. So this is version 2. Version 2 is a lot more of a simpler design than version 1 over there. So version 2 actually makes use of this chain right here, but instead of going in a loop, it actually loops into the next loop. So we have this one as the start and it goes up. As you can see in this little mock-up here I made, it actually starts here. It goes up and over and down. And then in this one right here, it's actually coming into this one and then back up through, back to the next chain where this one will go into the next one. And it will just keep repeating over on itself. And then once you get to the point where you want to start going down the next section, you just have it go over into the next one. This one was good and all, but again, this one was also flawed. So there's a weird redstone mechanic where if you have this set of droppers chains next to this set of dropper chains, somewhere down the line they break. For me, it was about at this point right here. So it would work for the first couple and then it would just stop. So with this flawed design not working, all I did was I went over here to version 3, the final version as of now, and all I did was split down the middle. That was it. It was fairly simple. I added a little bit of extra redstone here so it could power this dropper and a little bit here to power that one. And that was it. Then the system fully works. So I can actually show you how it works. So if we come over here, you can see this one is my starting dropper. This one has all the items in it. And the next one has items. The next one has items. So basically what I did is I took the tools and utilities, the combat, and the colored blocks, and I shoved all of them in here. So we can actually see the whole thing work. So this one works very similar to the one over there. All we have is this observer clock that just repeats the redstone over and over again. And if we come down here, we open this up, you can see everything's moving through fairly nicely. So there's also a weird mechanic with this where sometimes you'll click on one of these and it will be empty. If I can find one that's actually empty, might be one over here. Yeah. So this dropper is empty, but in reality, there are items going through it. We just can't see them. I'm not even really sure why. Like this whole section over here is working. Things are moving through rapidly because it's moving this way. And we should be able to see them in this dropper and this dropper and this dropper. And we can see them in the middle ones. I don't get it. They're there. We just can't see them. If anyone knows why, I would love to know in the comments down below if you could put that there. That'd be great. So since we're using this for stat poker, the way we're going to get an item out is the same way we get an item out over there. This barrel is full of Do Not Remove pieces. This minecart hopper is full of leave in cart pieces. We push the button. It grabs an item. Comes in here. Arrow swiftness. Wonderful. When we're done with it, we put it in here. We send it back in the system. So I've been testing this for quite a while, and I wanted to make sure that things we put back in the system were not going to get picked up by the hopper cart again, because it is sort of near the end of the chain, and we're picking this back up like right near the beginning. But even after like 30 minutes testing it, I never got the same item twice. So it's a pretty good system. I don't see too many flaws with it yet. So I think this is a pretty good randomizing system for the use that I'm going to use it for, which is for stat poker. Now this thing might work great for someone else's build. If you need some kind of like massive machine to randomize all kinds of items, this is what you need right here, because this works great. But that's about it. This thing's really simple. Down in the description, I'm going to leave a download to the Lightmatica schematic for this, so you can use this in your own world. You can mess around with it. See if you can make it better. I would love to make a version 4 If anyone has any great ideas to make this thing even better, faster, put it down in the comments. I want to know. So thank you again for joining me on this video, and I'll see you in the next one.